Welcome to the video game talk, or game talk time if you want to call it that. Because what's the time? It's game talk time. This is my associate, Corbin,
Hey,
and I'm Connor. So, Corbin, what's the talk of today?
the taco today is about video games, about the tricks.
The tips. Between that awkward moment, let's get right into it. Okay, let's start with the first game of the day. Let's see here. I have a little paper in here that's going to talk about that. Not really. I made that up. So we're going to talk about
Fortnite.
Doom. Oh. Doom. If you don't know what Doom is, it's a very old game from about, I believe, the 60s. Back in the original days, it was one of those old first-person shooters that looked pixelated, because back then they only had 16 bits to work with. Doom was a very good game, and it was where you were a guy named Doom Guy killing demons and trying to stop a demonic invasion of Earth. Since then, the game has evolved into what it is today, and including the new game that came out, I believe, the Dark Ages. Now, the game has a lot of things you can do. There's lots of things you can do. Guns, shooting, violence, and power-ups. What I would recommend is you try and play the full game on a more easier difficulty, and keep upping it each time until eventually you become so good at it that you literally can play the entire game without dying once. I mean, it's just that easy.
That easy?
Oh yes, it's very easy. But you have to believe in yourself first before you start doing that. Because remember, video games were never made to be easy. And also remember that each video game has a secret Easter egg. Like in one of the Doom games, there's a secret, one of the more modern Doom games, Doom Eternal, there's a little reference to the old Doom games that you can find. A little pixelated room that shows off the original game. Memories. Even if I wasn't alive to know what that was. But you never know what you can find, because every game has that little tiny Easter egg that you can always find hidden around the room. Although you never know where it's going to be. Anyway, moving on from Doom, demons, let's talk about... I'm going to leave it to my associate here to talk about how you do better at Fortnite. Because again, I haven't kept up with the recent Fortnite trends.
So, Fortnite, if you don't know what Fortnite is, it's a
How could you not?
How could you not? It's a shooting game that
Can be in third person.
that you could play with your friends or by yourself.
If you really wanted to.
Yeah.
No, I'd win.
But
It's a very popular game that's been around for at least from 2017. Originally, it was a zombies game with Save the World, until in 2017, Fortnite dropped Battle Royale, which led to the mess that we have today. As you know, it's had many characters, many stories, and eventually started having lore to its, actual game. But you can never forget the moments of the past. Remember when we used to have the OG guns that, were pretty nice? And the golden scar that everybody talked about? Well, that's cool and all. But nowadays, we have these crazy guns that make no sense. Like one season where we had a baseball bat we could hit people. But you never know. The game has always been kind of special and unique to people. Mostly because of its original Battle Royale's build mechanic. I never mastered it. That's why I played Zero Build a whole bunch. And I usually could win. I actually played with one of my friends and we got into bot lobbies and just started wrecking bots on purpose because, it's funny.
and that's why I play Rebuild, because I suck at the game.
They also have Reload, which is basically the old Fortnite OG, but but on a much smaller island.
Yeah.
It's where you're in a team. As long as one of your teammates are alive, you will respawn eventually to reclaim your items. And this will keep going. Unless, of course, you die. But the thing is that means that once you kill their teammate, you have at least a 10-second window to kill their other teammate before the teammate respawns. Because if you kill them and their teammate is still alive, then their teammate can just land somewhere else far away, and that person will just respawn later. Of course, that means they're severely diminished because their weapons are gone. A tip I would learn from this is to learn all of the building tricks that most people would have. The quick building skills that, I can't have because I don't play on a mouse and keyboard. But you also have to have that quick-witted skills and good aim. I would say I'm good at a sniper, but I haven't played Fortnite in ages because, it's kind of gone off the rails since the Shazaz.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it.
Now let's talk about the new Nintendo.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you've probably all heard the news and video game news that the Nintendo 2 is out, which is the Nintendo Switch 2. Which is kind of crazy, considering, the original Nintendo Switch was pretty nice.
It really was.
But you have to be aware that if you live in Japan, you're kind of screwed. Because you have to not only have at least a year of Nintendo Plus, to get all those nice games, and have some kind of other memberships to even buy the thing to be even qualified. Luckily in America, we don't have that because we're Americans.
And there's another
interesting fact. Nintendo used to be a card company, and they made cards, not video games. Well, technically, they made cards for the games that were like blackjack.
And did you know that you could play Fortnite on Nintendo Switch?
You could always do that. Yeah. Let's get out of that, and let's talk about one of the most popular games that was ever released in its time, Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You want to be better at that game? I can only tell you this. Get good. Just practice all day, every day. The grind doesn't stop. I promise you. Because like a good mate, we always need to prepare. I'm not Captain Price. That's a different guy. I'm Captain D. Price. Little joke for you there. But there's always fun times waiting in Call of Duty. I remember playing the first 2 Black Ops games, and they were pretty nice. I love the stories of those games. Even though I only beat the first game's story, because I didn't know how the second one worked. It was all over the place.
I beat both of them.
I've only played a little bit of Call of Duty Black Ops 3. I've never played Black Ops 5 or 6 or 4.
I'm excited for the new Black Ops game.
But I did play a lot of Black Ops Cold War. I beat the story and played zombies with a friend a whole bunch. And I was pretty good at the knife, and I love to just take a knife and go right in that zombie's chest.
Now let's talk about Minecraft.
Minecraft, as you know, is one of the biggest popular games on the entire platform. Started as this small little project of a man named Notch. Though he doesn't own Mojang, nor does he have any rights to Minecraft anymore, we will always remember him as its original and rightful creator. It just started out as a silly little game where you ran around and placed blocks everywhere. Let your imagination go wild. But then we got survival Minecraft, where we actually had the objective to survive the days and nights of the world to try and not win.
And there's this dude in Minecraft named Steve.
Steve is the original model character of the game.
And then there's Chicken Jockey.
And then we had the mobs. Of course, we all know the creeper was created on accident when, Notch was trying to make a pig. If you don't know that, fun fact. Creepers were made with, creepers, as you know, are the silent, big, tall, green things that explode are super silent. And you have to be very close attention to when you see one. They're super silent, and you don't even know they're there until, kaboom, they blow you up. And all your hard work. Then you also have to remember the other mobs. Zombies, skeletons, phantoms, and some of the more recent additions, such as the Allays and all of that. Oh, I haven't caught up with Minecraft at all, so I don't know much. But I know there's a few new mobs that I haven't seen quite yet.
But if you haven't watched the Minecraft movie, then you probably don't know the saying, Chicken Jockey.
We don't talk about that. I don't. Now, let's talk about how Minecraft has evolved over the many years. Originally, it was just supposed to be a fun fantasy game, but it's evolved into something bigger these days, including things that we didn't even have that original OG players don't even know that you have. I bet you if you were to find an OG player who stopped playing Minecraft back then, and you show them today, they're like, what have you done? I'm sure they would. But, we don't know that. Because I don't know if there are any... I'm not even sure if there are OG players left. People remember the old days of Alpha Minecraft, but also remember the name of Herobrine, a once myth just proven to be just a myth. One that was never real to even begin with.
Well, let's get off of that subject and let's go straight to Roblox.
We all know the drama that's going on. The whole mess. We can talk about it. It's still a fun game. It's just Roblox CEO is just making some bad decisions. That's going to lead to some very, very bad legal problems that may lead to losing money. So
Agreed.
Unless they're going to conform with the terms, they die. Let's move on for that. We don't need to talk about someone who's doing some illegal stuff. I'm going to say that. Let's move on to another game that I'm sure some are familiar with, some are not. Deltarune. We don't know, it was made by the amazing Toby Fox, who also created Undertale, an 8-bit little adventure where you must get to a place known as the Underground. However, Deltarune is different, as the lovable Undertale characters now live on the surface instead of underground. However, they are not the same. They don't even know what the Underground is, being completely from a different timeline. But the main character, Chris, a teen wearing a light green and yellow striped sweater, brown pants, and some brown hair covering his eyes, it starts the adventure by going to school, where he meets a yellow-purple dinosaur named Susie. She reminds me of Barney, but we don't talk about Barney. She's a jerk, and she pretty much hates everybody. She thinks everyone deserves it. She believes in full gender equality. Even if Chris is a they, them, and doesn't have an official gender, they're genderless. They've stumbled into a place known as the Dark World, and their world is called the Light World, and a fountain called the Dark Fountain, which balances between light and dark. Here they meet a stranger in a dark cloak who tells them the story of it, and that a second fountain has opened. But this stranger turns out to be a friendly little good boy. His name is Rouse, and he's the prince of this abandoned kingdom.
Yeah.
Susie wanders off. There they meet the king's son, Lancer. He's a crazy kid who believes his bike is a motorcycle, despite it being a bike that's literally on fire. He fucks off, and Susie also fucks off. Remember, children, this is family friendly, no swearing, only beeps.
And let's talk about the debate between Xbox and PS5.
We know that PS5 and Xbox all have the same game. There's even talk of them joining forces to combine both PlayStation Plus and Game Pass into one thing, so Xbox can play PS games, and PS players can play Xbox games. It's only fair, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But then again, back to Deltarune. My friend here decided to take this way off course. Let's also talk about the fact that, after Susie fucks off and says... After Susie beeps off, Chris and Rouse go on their own, and Rouse shows Chris how the battle menu works, and also how to hug people. They go off on their own on a crazy adventure, battling creatures and sparing them. Although you don't have to spare them, you can just kill them instead. Eventually they meet Susie and Lancer, Susie becoming a bad guy because why? That's cool. And eventually they beat the crap out of the two of them and they surrender. After, they give a good helping of a beating to Lancer because Susie cares about him. Then they go off and get captured. Susie and Chris and Rouse end up in the king's dungeon, where Chris eats moss. Susie then goes to fight Lancer, who she shows no mercy to, until we finally gain control and make her stop. Then we go fight the king, Lancer's dad, or as some people like to call him, the Chaos King. After we beat him, we close. But there's also a secret boss, Jevil, a dancing, crazy clown who believes in the fact that our world is not our own, basically breaking the fourth wall. But if you really want to think about it, he's right. We are controlling Chris as the player. Some characters are aware of the player, others are not. There are two things you can do for Jevil. Kill him, or pacify him and spare him. Each time, however, depending on which option you do, he'll give you a different dialogue. In one, he'll talk about the queen, this king's wife, and the other, he talks about a mysterious figure known only as the Knight. Although, back then, we didn't know what this cryptic message was meant to mean. Fast forward a few months, Chris and Susie are now friends. They stumble and they run into a reindeer girl, Noelle Holiday. Her mother is the mayor, and her dad is currently in the hospital for a condition I can't remember, because I didn't care. She's a good girl and would rather, and also, don't tell anybody, but she has a crush on Susie, and would not care if she was being rough with her. Basically. Very, very bad. Noelle stumbles into a dark world and meets the king's wife, the queen. Unlike her son, much like the king, she has a visor that shows like a spade, but she acts kind of like a computer meme and, is hilarious. She kidnaps Noelle for some great plan, whatever the heck that's supposed to mean.
Are you talking to the mic?
But don't worry, there's more.
Oh, we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll figure that out in a later episode. For now, let's go on to something different. Team Fortress 2. If you don't know what it is, well, that's your problem. I haven't played it either, but I know what it is. It's a fun game where you play as a team of mercenaries, whether on the blue team or the red team. And there are several classes you can play, such as the medic, who heals the other classes and can shoot syringes out of a crossbow. There's the demo man, who's just a lazy...
Who's a lazy bum?
He's an alcoholic, and he's Scottish.
Yeah.
And he's crazy and has explosives. What else can I tell you? Or you can play as the pyro, a silent type who just sets things on fire. Or you can play as the soldier, a pure-blooded American who just likes to blow up and make soldiers talk. Or you can talk to Heavy, a Russian heavy man, a Siberian man with big gun. He names his gun Sasha. Don't know why, don't know how, but why do we care? We're not here for the lore, we're here for the fun. Or you can play as Medic.
You already said that.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I meant you can play as the Scout, a Boston kid who has a baseball bat and a shotgun. And is very full of himself. Or you can play as the Engineer. A very good fellow who likes to build turrets and play a guitar. And drink alcohol, but only slightly. Or you can play as the Sniper, an Australian man who's ready to kill somebody with a sniper. G'day, mate. Anyway, in the game you go off against a team of people. And you have to try and win. Each character has a special ability. You can have melee, skins, all kinds of things. They were made by Valve, the same people who made Portal and Portal 2. You don't know what those games are. Wonderful games. I've beaten the story on Portal 2, but I've never played Portal 1. But let's ask ourselves the big questions. Why do we even play games? It's because we need to have the fun, right? True, but it also realizes that we, as human beings...
We get bored. So
human beings get bored, and some of that turns you into psychopaths who want to murder people. But games are a way to escape, put all that violence...
To ignore your parents.
Probably, if your parents are a-holes.
Yeah, and if you play games like both of us, then you'll know that games are fun and
very entertaining. Because remember, there's nothing more that makes a gamer than never touching grass, always blowing things up, and remember, leaving food and drinks at the door of your room because you're not coming out for a long time. Except, of course, if you're like us and you have school. Well, then you're just trapped for a while. But hey, remember, we always come back because no matter what, we always have the skill and patience to play. Remember, people, this is game talk time. And remember, it will always be